broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 77 of Welcome Home. This is me, Tom. I got Trevor. I've got Damon. How's it going, guys?
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to have energy with all this stuff going on, right?
That is true. That is true. But we did get our 1,000 people in the group number, which is awesome. We'll say thank you to everyone. It's been wonderful. And we do have a post in there if you're looking for these new pins, which, again, you might need, a weightlifter's belt to actually wear them if you put them on your shirt or something. But other than that, they look very nice. They look very nice. This is how I guess we can explain them. There's 2 pins in the back of the pin, right? It's one of those larger ones that you might get at Disney. But, thanks to everyone for doing that. And we are going to be giving them away to 5 people. And the other thing that we did ask, which I thought was great timing, was that if you could just also send or click a review on iTunes, write something, just click the stars, whatever you need to do, that we would count that as 2 entries into this random pin giveaway once we get them. And then you got to probably wait like 10 months for Tom to mail them out. But other than that, you'll be a winner in your own mind until you get them. But that gives you time to work out so that you can actually wear the pin.
So you can, you got to bulk up. You
definitely got to bulk up for these pins.
That's funny. Yeah, no, so we appreciate all that. I was laughing at the post though, because after you posted that, Damon, I'm like, this is all just people telling us how great we are. I feel like Damon just needed like a boost today and wanted to just hear about how awesome we are.
What it was is I really start to... I can't come up with ideas anymore. And on the weekend, I'm definitely tapped out. So I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to say so people can actually write something so we can pick somebody? I didn't want to just do one, hey, post your name. So I thought that was a good way, right? As a non-argumentative, and it's been fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Unless you talk about how we should be more professional or less professional, because that'll cause a huge argument in that group. So as many times.
I think we've done a good job at that. I think we really have, upped our game a little bit, to say.
I think so too.
It is interesting because I do listen to some other podcasts. I have a lot of friends now that ask me, hey, I'm starting a podcast. Can you listen to it? Can you help me out? I know my cousin's doing one on, I guess they are playing cards. I didn't realize that playing cards are a collectible sort of big deal thing, but he's doing one, and I have another friend that's doing one, and so they keep asking me, and I'm like, oh, at least I can help out on some of the things that people got us on for the first year, and hopefully help the other people. But it's been a great experience. I definitely feel like we've all benefited from it, and I don't know, it helps me at work when I have to give presentations, right?
Exactly. It's good to have public speaking skills, right? As I mess up the word skills. Oh, it's good to laugh. So, Trevor, I don't know if you want to say anything. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, do we want to...
do you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. So I'm going to preface this by saying we have been avoiding this topic for at least 2 episodes. And I know a lot of people come to listen to us and to listen to other Disney podcasts to kind of get away from the negative and get away from the real world and things like that. But at this point, we kind of have to talk about the coronavirus and what the effect that it is having on the parks. As most of you know, now all of the Disney parks are closed. And so we do have to talk about this at this point. We can't really just pretend like this isn't happening. And we are going to try to keep it to a minimum. We do want to still, have the show be fun and get you away from these things. But one of the things we wanted to do, and this was very gracious of our guests to join us today. And we have Nick Cotton from DVC Resale Market, who is our sponsor and our friend. And probably, I think, Nick, you were our first guest ever on the show. I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. You were on episode 4.
I think, yes, yeah, that's right. And it's an honor to be the first guest, and it's an honor to be back. So thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so Nick, if you could, a lot of our listeners are fairly new, so they might have never heard you on the show before. They've only heard Derek and Marissa. So if you wouldn't mind going through just kind of your background and just DVC Resale Market as a whole, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. Originally started as an industrial engineer for the Walt Disney Company in 2004. I did that till 2008. Then I became a Disney Vacation Club guide. working on land at Disney World, also on the cruise ship. And so it was kind of funny. One day I go from basically doing internal consulting as an engineer for DVC. The next day I'm selling for DVC. And then in 2014, I founded and started DVC Resale Market. I really wanted a way where people could buy and sell in the resale world with the expertise of somebody that had worked as a Disney Vacation Club guide. And so since that time, it's been great. I mean, now we've been in business for 6 years, and we have just an amazing team, 11 former Disney Vacation Club guides. We have 2 former quality assurance managers, and then we have another admin person we had hired just a few months ago, Karen Sheff, who she was with Disney Vacation Club when it was still dirt in 1991, and she's worked in really all facets of DVC. So, great staff. If for some of the newer listeners, you may have heard some of our top sales associates come on here, like Marissa and Derek, and I'm happy to be back myself.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. And I think what we wanted to talk a little bit about is the short-term, the long-term effects to DVC from this shutdown that's occurring, from just the coronavirus in general, the pandemic that's going on. What are maybe some of the short-term and long-term impacts? You wrote a really great article about this on your website, but I think this is, something that a lot of members are wondering about, and a lot of people, that are maybe looking to purchase or even sell are wondering about. So I think that's something we would definitely love to hear from you about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, for anybody who wants a little bit of something to read to go along with it, if you go to our website, dvcresalemarket.com, just go to our blog section. Our last 2 blogs right now, do get onto the topic here of the coronavirus. One of them is kind of a general update one. The second one that really, kind of you're alluding to is more of, okay, well, what is it? What do we think this looks like from a short-term and long-term impact to DVC specifically? And, to get it a little bit into the short-term, I would say it's creating is a little bit more intense of a buyer's market, which, you really don't see that often in DVC. The last time that we really saw more of a buyer's market in the Disney Vacation Club resale universe was really probably 2016. And while we didn't have necessarily global things going on, we had some tough stuff we were dealing with here in Orlando, specifically, in the summer of 2016. And, that, helped create a little bit of a buyer's market. And where traditionally Disney Vacation Club is just so popular, unlike almost everything else in the timeshare world, that's always a buyer's market. That doesn't happen a lot with Disney Vacation Club. So I think we're going into a little bit more of that. So what that means is, I think for buyers, especially when we hear, gosh, wish I could, have gotten a contract in 2016 or 2017, and because prices, generally have gone up historically for Disney Vacation Club, you're probably going to have a little bit of an opportunity to grab things at a little bit of a cheaper price. Doesn't mean that everything that we have listed is going to be that way, but, you have some sellers, who, aren't in as much of a rush. You have some that'll be a little bit more of a rush. I do think, I think we all realize that what we're going through right now, is a blip. We don't know how long it'll be, but we know that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel for sure with this. So I think you're probably going to have some sellers who will, hold a little more steadfast. But I think for those that, were motivated to want to sell in a few weeks or maybe a month or two, I think you will see them being more negotiable, if not already proactively dropping their prices. So, that does represent a little bit of, of a dip in the market probably, and the buyers can take advantage of. I wouldn't be surprised in 5 or 6 months if we're talking to some buyers and they're kind of in the if I shoulda woulda crowd that I wish I would have probably bought, then I would go a little bit cheaper price. Now that being said, everybody has to do what's best for them, and right now, people, maybe a little skittish, and that's fine, and maybe not the right time for them. But I think for those that, are willing and able to do it, they're probably going to get some good deals. Specifically right now, we've got pretty high level of inventory, especially with certain resorts like Grand Floridian, Polynesian, and Boardwalk. I think those are some really, really great buys right now. In the DVC resale universe, typically January brings about kind of a perfect storm where everybody gets their annual dues bill. And well, about half, I would say half the members pay them annually. The other half pays it monthly. But you get the dues bill comes out, and then that's when a lot of people decide if they're going to sell or not. At the same time, you're at the very start of vacation planning season, and so our biggest buying season generally goes January through April. So you get a lot of inventory, but you get a lot of buyers. Well, this situation has struck us kind of right in the middle of peak buying season. So you've still got relatively high inventory levels from January, but yet you've got now a dip in the amount of buyers in the market, where typically on an average day this time of year we might be selling 11 to 12 contracts a day. Now we're selling maybe 7 to 8. So it doesn't mean there's not buyers there, but there's less. And so if you are a buyer, it's going to bring about stronger opportunities. For sellers, for them, we can still move your contract right now, no doubt about it. Doesn't mean you need to delist it if you have a contract with us, but if you're wanting the highest price, maybe you hold steadfast. It's not, if the contract sits there, till, perhaps July or August, not a big deal. It's not like a house where people think you did something wrong to the plumbing, right? It's all maintained by Disney. But, I think that's at least the place we're going to be in the short term will be, a bit of a buyer's market. So there will be some opportunities there for buyers. And like I said, for sellers, if you're still, if you're motivated to sell it, we'll still get it moved, but you may need to be a little bit more negotiable than you would have been previously.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I should mention too, I didn't say this before, but obviously this is a very serious situation, and we hope everybody out there as well. And, we just want to give you kind of a different perspective of this so we can talk about it without really talking about it, I guess. It's a very serious thing out there, but also it's affecting Disney and DVC. And so we want to bring you as much information as we can on it. So Nick, I appreciate that. That's a really, really great update. It's interesting to see how that's affecting the resale market. What do you think long term?
Yeah, so, I think long term, this is Disney, right? I mean, even, speaking to the seriousness of this, the decision to close the parks and put health over profit is obviously, that's what you expect Disney to do, and that's a smart decision. And also, even from a legal standpoint, it puts them in a much better position to reduce liability. So, there's so many reasons, Disney will continue to be very, very strong. But I also think, when you have a dynamic like this, you always look for comparables, and no situation is exactly like another situation. I worked at Disney Vacation Club Direct during the Great Recession, as it's often referred to, the mortgage crisis. That felt very different. That felt like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to last? Kind of a thing. And we know it's not going to be a blip. It's going to be, very extended like it was. From talking to a lot of, veterans, we have some on our own team that were there during 9/11. Umberto Santos, Karen Geider, Rafael Massa. And, from talking to them, it kind of has a little bit of a feeling like that in a way. Not to say that this is in no way a terrorist attack, of course, and it, the death toll is not nearly what it, was in 9/11 for Americans, but, in some ways, it just has a little bit of that kind of situation where there's a lot of unnerving, a little shock and awe, if you will, to the whole situation. And, I think sometimes these kind of situations, give us pause, to kind of realize, what's really important in life, and, that time that, with loved ones and how fragile life can be, really comes into perspective. I also think in this situation, we're probably all going to get a little bit of cabin fever over the next few weeks, and people are going to be looking to when's that next vacation to get out. But, it was interesting talking to some of our veterans about, just about the past and what they had went through. And I thought Umberto had a really interesting point to make. During the month of September of 2001, he had sold 30 contracts. Of those 30, 27 of them canceled. So he only had 3 guests that that joined with him that month that kept it. So he had a 90% cancel rate, where he typically had under a 10% cancel rate. Then 2 months later, in November, he had one of the best months he had ever had at Disney Vacation Club. Karen Geider, who also worked direct at the time, had almost the exact same experience. So, I do think, there will be a bounce back, especially for a product like Disney, especially for the vacation industry, especially for situations too, where I think after 9/11, I think we'll experience something similar to this, is that is that, we saw a lot more domestic travel. People would opt out a little bit more of international travel. I think we'll probably, there's a good chance we may see a little bit of that scenario. People are, in after situations like this, tend to gravitate more towards safe and reliable. And I don't think there's anything more when you think of vacations that says safe and reliable, like, a Disney vacation. So I wouldn't be surprised, that Disney comes out very strong when the rebound starts. And I think Disney Vacation Club, will be going along very strongly for that ride, because nothing ensures your Disney vacations more than becoming a member of the Disney Vacation Club. So I think long term, things will be very, very bright for Disney and Disney Vacation Club. But, despite what we're going through right now.
Hey, Nick, so I have a question. So, do you think that there's going to be some disenchantment with all the pushes in terms of, Disney Vacation Club people booking? I know, like, that we are thinking about going in October for just a day or two, and we haven't booked it yet just because, we just haven't booked it. But all these pushbacks, is that going to then create this, mass hysteria of getting rooms, once Disney opens back up, and then maybe, giving a little bit of disenchantment to some of the DVC members or future DVC members or people looking to add on points because maybe they can't necessarily get a booking because of all of this?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think I think where you're going with this is basically like, look, these people, there are a lot of people right now who aren't going to Disney World because the parks are not operating, and so they're going to get their points back, which is great from that email that Terry Schultz had sent out last week. However, obviously that demand now is going to get moved forward, and it's going to create more capacity problems. So I think it's a fair point, but I would say, like this what we're going through is a blip. We will get past it. I think, the inventory constraints that we may see that from this will also be temporary. And I think too, I think what may happen is, okay, well maybe, instead of getting the boardwalk, you're at Saratoga Springs, or maybe instead of being at Grand Floridian, you're at Old Key West, that may be a very strong possibility. Maybe the dates that you ideally want to go aren't there, but hey, we've got these other dates. So, I think in perspective, if that's the worst thing that comes of this, I think we'll all be okay. I think everybody's going to much more appreciate their Disney vacation and what we've got. So I think there's always going to be some of that, but I think at the end of the day, there's going to be such a relief to return to normal and to be back at Disney and to have those parks open again. I still think they'll come out just fine.
So this actually leads me to another question that just kind of popped up in the back of my mind now. Is Disney Vacation Club, let's just talk about Disney World for a second. Is it ever maxed out? Like, is there, again, outside of, let's say, Christmas or whatever, like you said, if you wanted to go specifically to a resort, maybe you can't get that. If you wanted a specific room. But is DVC, does it reach capacity?
Yeah.
If you kind of know what I'm asking, right?
Yeah, like, hey, look, there's no DVC rooms available no matter what you want or at any resort. No, it's true. It can, it's possible. There's even I know members have, as members, we can go on our member website and check availability. There's another website out there, I think, dvcvacations.com. Even if it's a non-member, you can glance at availability there. But, you could see if you play around with it, especially if you've ever checked during like Christmas week or something like that, you will see no availability perhaps. Maybe there's a one night or something at a Grand Villa or, something, kind of, obscure, but nothing that really you can make a vacation out of. So to your point, it can happen. And could we see a little bit more of that, from this event? Sure. I mean, we're obviously going to be pushing out 2 weeks, maybe even more, hopefully not too long, of dates that people are going to probably, cancel and rebook. That'll be scattered, throughout the rest of the year and into the following year. But, I think I think it's all overcomable though. I think it's all something that can work itself out. And, maybe, DVC does have the opportunity to unleash some of their own inventory if they choose to, if it became such a problem that it was really affecting the membership negatively. They always have that lever to pull that they can say, hey, well, let's just release some of the inventory we own for points that we would typically rent out for cash. For example, a resort that they're actively selling right now, Riviera, they own the vast majority of Riviera still because they've only sold a certain percentage of it to the public yet. The rest of that inventory, they have the right to sell that on cash. They could always convert more of that over to points if they needed to. And I think if it came to a situation, kind of what you're alluding to, where it became that serious, that could be a lever that they pull.
I've got a random question. Oh, Trevor, go ahead. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. You go.
No. I was just going to reaffirm that's interesting that Disney can do that. And I guess that kind of leads into, when people are complaining about availability, is that they don't understand that there is a bunch of rooms available there that aren't necessarily up for points all the time, right? Like it's not like every single room is booked through DVC in these resorts, correct?
Correct. There's a variety of ways where, somebody could be staying on cash at a Disney Vacation Club resort, even one that's historically sold out. You could be, and you can, anybody can see this. If you go online and look to book a cash room at Disney, you might see, there's a boardwalk villa available for cash. I thought that was a Disney Vacation Club only. And that's not actively being sold. So where does that inventory come from that I can pay for on cash? So there's other ways besides the fact that they may have not sold it. They do hold back 2% of every resort anyway for Disney Vacation Club. So they'll always have some, but also, members can use points to go on cruises, Adventures by Disney. And so when members do things like that, what Disney Vacation Club does, let's say you want to go on a cruise. Well, they have to pay money to Disney Cruise Line for you to go on that cruise. And then you've used your points. Well, that inventory of points, they're going to now rent rooms out to make up for that inventory of points. And so they're going to go rent that out on cash to make up for the money that they just paid Disney Cruise Line with, if that makes sense.
That does, but I'm guessing in the short term you're probably not going to see a lot of people getting cruises with their points.
Yeah. So that one, well, speaking of things that specifically, your cruises could... Yes, they could take a little bit longer to come back. A matter of fact, I was supposed to be on a cruise right now as we speak. I had a daddy-daughter cruise booked for us on the Disney Dream that was supposed to get back tomorrow. So we actually could have still taken it. It did leave on Friday as scheduled, and we would have, I guess, been the last Dream cruise. And it wasn't even, if you've been on Disney cruises, they just are by far the leader in the industry in keeping everybody sanitized and clean. And they really are the ones, from my knowledge, that really pioneered that years and years ago. You couldn't go into any restaurant without sanitizing your hands. And then a lot of other cruise lines eventually followed suit. So it really wasn't necessarily a fear of that. It was just more of like, oh my gosh, what if one person gets on the ship that they didn't have symptoms going on board, but they manifested while they were on the ship, and now we're all quarantined for 2 weeks. So that was really more of the biggest fear. And then of course my daughter's in school. She's in kindergarten, and at that time, that was before Orange County schools had or all the state of Florida schools had closed down, like a lot of other states. So at that time, there was that fear as well. So anyway, we were supposed to be on a cruise. So to your point, exchanging for cruises may not be the greatest example now, but we know that, like everything else, that obviously the cruise industry will eventually come back too.
So thanks for that. That's really great information. I have a random question, and you feel free not to answer this because I didn't ask you this ahead of time. I just thought of it right now. So we've been speculating on what, and this is not coronavirus oriented at all. So we'll talk about more happy things. So the new DVC resort they're building in Disneyland, maybe if if everything happens, if you had to guess, what do you think the direct price on that'll be?
They really like to keep prices of active resorts similar. So I don't know that it would be that different.
Like that much of a premium to like Riviera, like it would probably be around the same, you think?
I think, right now even Alani and Riviera, they're both priced very similar. Technically, you could say they're different, based on incentives, that they may be offering. And that may be what they do with that resort as well. For example, by the time that resort comes out, maybe the going rate is $2.10 a point, just for example's sake, and they may have an incentive where, you get $12, $15 off a point at Riviera, but you only get $5 off a point at the new, California resort. So they could always kind of do that too. That's always an option. And sometimes incentives are a little bit easier to adjust than price. And they could see how well it sells. It's really interesting, because despite what Grand California sells for now, which is, around $200 a point in the world of resale, head and shoulders above everything else, when we were selling Grand California directly, it struggled to sell. In fact, I can remember selling Grand California to cast members that got discounted all the way to like low 70s per point. And so, it was interesting though, how much of that at the time may have been that the Southern California market didn't quite grasp the concept of how important it is to have a home resort and be able to book farther in advance, and that there's only going to be 50 units here, which is a very, very small number, and how important it's going to be to have ownership here. So I'm not sure maybe how much that played a part of it. I was never a guide out in Disneyland, but I know that it didn't sell at the pace that was anticipated. Now, also it did get released when we were in a deep recession. So, for various reasons, this resort could sell much, much stronger than the Grand Cal originally did. Price-wise, though, again, going back to what I said previously, I think they may keep them the same and change and have the incentives different. They could always come out maybe a little bit higher with it. I wouldn't expect it to be drastically higher than what they have at Walt Disney World, though.
So not like there's no like premium for Disneyland. I'm just thinking how excited Trevor probably was hearing that he could have bought Grand Cal at $70 too.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, it was, and that was a special incentive, but even, it wasn't uncommon, even with regular incentives, that we were selling Grand Cal as low as the 90s per point, which is kind of astonishing to think about now when you can easily fetch around, in the 190s to $200 a point with it on resale.
Wow, that's crazy. That's amazing how far that's come. That's why I was curious though. I just, cause I'm thinking that Reflections will probably open maybe around the same time as this Disneyland hotel. I don't know, around that same time. So I'm just wondering if they'll be priced around the same, or if they're, I was just curious if there'd be a premium because it's Disneyland and there's so few DVC there. I know a lot of people are excited about it though. A lot of people are excited for a new DVC resort in Disneyland. So that's
absolutely. And with good reason. I think this one will sell well, especially compared to the Grand Cal, just because people out that market, I think, really gets it now, and hence why you've seen the resale price go so high. I mean, we were reselling Grand Cal 120s, 130s a point, just 4 or 5 years ago, and to see what's happened to it, and that's just a true market alteration in it, because people understand that there's only one DVC there, and there's not many rooms there, and if I'm going to want to be able to stay there consistently, I better own there. And so it's really driven it up to be a premium price in the world of resale.
Interesting. Thanks for answering that random question for me. I put you on the spot there.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, do you have any other questions before we ask Chris's question, the listener question here?
The listener question that I don't agree with? No, I don't, but I'll definitely read the question.
All right, you could do that. Trevor, do you have anything?
No, I want to hear the answer to the listener question.
Wait, from me or from Nick? All right, so
both.
I'll read it. So this is a question from one of our listeners, and he states, How about the slower than expected Riviera sales average about $100K a month and only 70% of Disney direct sales, with the other 30 being older resorts? Apparently that number is usually 80 to 85% new resort and the rest older resorts. If the sales remain sluggish, will the restrictions be rolled back? Now, I already answered this a little bit on how I felt about this on our group, Nick. I don't understand how restrictions would be rolled back if you want people to purchase direct. I think it would be the opposite way. You would enforce more restrictions and then you'd actually get people to purchase direct, because rolling back the restrictions just means more people would buy resale. I tell you, and it's honestly, this question is a great question for me because I feel like, Nick, the one thing holding me back from purchasing more Saratoga from you guys is really the restrictions. Like I was not in the same spot that Trevor and Tom were when they purchased their resale contracts and, they kind of got grandfathered in. For me, it was like, well, I wasn't really ready at that time. We were buying a house. And now that I'm kind of ready, the restrictions are kind of what holds me personally back from buying resale. That's a really big loaded question. Not all that Chris actually asked, but I kind of gave you a little bit more to think about on my end as well. So you can answer just Chris's question if you want.
Yeah, no, I'll answer both. I think Chris's question's great, and I think your perspective on it is great as well. So first, I'll kind of get a little bit into answering Chris's question, then I'll kind of elaborate a little bit more on this restriction and why there may be some merit and where I think he's going with it. There has been reports that the ratio has been off. That's true. I can tell you from the amount of buybacks of older resorts from last year, we had this time last year around 20% buybacks, which is an extremely high percentage. Right now we're running back to about 5%, which is in the more normal range. So they would have had the inventory of older resorts for those ratios to potentially be a little skewed. And it's not great for DVC to have ratios that are 70% new, 30% resale. They definitely, they would want 100% new, 0% resale in an ideal world because their margins are much more significant on the newer product versus the resale product. Something like Riviera, where they already have the land and they're doing the development, their margins are going to be more around the 300-400% margin. Astronomical. Where when they buy a resale from us, they may be buying a Saratoga at 100 a point, reselling it, in the 150s a point. Not a bad margin, but nothing like, building new. So there is definitely, for them, a clear direction. I'm sorry, in Saratoga, to be clear, I think right now they sell it for about 165. But anyway, so for them, they definitely want to be selling newer stuff. They don't want those ratios to go down. But, prior to going into this coronavirus pandemic, from my understanding, they were doing much better with Riviera, and they were making plans, so things were looking pretty good. I think maybe this data may be more towards the end of last year, so I think they were in a better place. Now, let's just say, would they roll back these restrictions? Why would they roll back these restrictions? Well, the thing is, if you're selling really strong, but people aren't buying Riviera, what's the reason? And, the interesting thing, too, is, when you look at resale and you look at what the restrictions they've done in the past, and then you look at the one they did in 2019, a little different. When you look at saying, hey, we're going to restrict incidental benefits, the discounts and stuff, you're more kind of restricting something that's kind of like a bonus anyway to the membership, not really perceived that negatively. It's also, when you think of, okay, as a salesperson, I have objections. One of the strong objections could be resale. Well, when you take away the incidental benefits, that gives me a way to kind of combat that objection without creating another objection, which is key. And so I think for that reason, that's a smart restriction. When we look at the one in 2019, I think what you gave me, if I'm a salesperson there, is you've given me a significant way to combat resale, perhaps, especially if I'm selling Riviera or versus Riviera resale. Now, with the other resorts, the fact that I can't use, a Saratoga Springs or a Grand Floridian to go to a Riviera or the new resorts, not really that big of a deal, really. Because, the resorts they already had in existence, the 14 classics, if you will, already take up the best real estate at Walt Disney World. So the fact that I can't go to Riviera really is probably not a big deal. Hasn't been a big deal, at least for a lot of our customers, and I understand why. Not that Riviera is not nice. It's just that, I'm not going to give up a beach club stay to go to Riviera. And if it's just, a few newer resorts that I can't go to, I could always just, do a exchange through someone like DVC, rental store and go about that, through that path. Now, if you are talking about buying Riviera, though, that's a more serious restriction when you say, well, I can only stay at Riviera for Disney Vacation Club. But getting back to my point of, helping with an objection and then maybe hurting yourself is that, when we talk about now direct sales of Riviera and you say, well, if you buy Riviera resale, you can only stay at Riviera, you definitely give that objection, a lot of help, right? The only problem there is you kind of create another objection. So you handled one, but now you're playing whack-a-mole because another one popped up. And that other one that popped up is they say, well, gee, when I go to sell this, though, it's a 50-year membership. There's a decent chance I don't have it for 50 years. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. But if something happened, in my life, whether it's job or whatever, if I need to sell this and the new buyer can only go to Riviera, isn't that going to, affect the value of what I can sell it for? And so that objection is now created, and where you didn't really have that objection when you just changed incidental benefits. So, not that it's an objection. Obviously, some guides are handling it, because they're selling Riviera, but it did create a little bit of another problem. Now, when you look at what we've been selling Riviera for, not really necessarily, bad, and that may be, perhaps helping that objection because, when you're looked at price Riviera and resale, really, it's unprecedented situation. So you're like, well, where is it going to sell for? And you really don't know the answer until, somebody gives you, shows you what they're willing to pay for it. So when we look at what we've been selling Riviera for, been selling, in the 120s, 130s a point, obviously can vary based on the size of the contract. Now you compare that to something like a Copper Creek, which is also newer. That resale is generally in the 150s a point. So what we're seeing is probably about, a $25 to $30 a point hit because of that, because of the severity of that restriction. So, not catastrophic to the value. I mean, you compare it to other timeshares where you could pay $25,000 for it, walk out the door, and, you can barely give it away. So nothing at all like that. But, certainly has, impacted for a good reason the resale value of Riviera. So, I think that's where Chris is going with this. Hey, so if they peel it back, that then takes that objection off the table of my resale value is terrible or not as good as it should be objection. Now, if they are selling Riviera strong and the ratio of new to old with Riviera representing the new is very high, then I think it's a very, very low chance that they would remove that restriction. But if that ratio does dip down significantly for them to still make sales, meaning Riviera is struggling to move, and you would have to think that's got to be one of the main reasons for it, because there's nothing wrong with the Riviera. If you've been there, it's a beautiful place. They also have a great new transportation system to it as well. And room mix is really good too. So, that really, if imagine if you dived into it, would probably be the difference. So, from what I've gathered going, before, in normal sale time before the coronavirus impact, I think things were going pretty good. So I think it's a low chance, but certainly I think it would be on the table if it becomes a struggle for that resort.
That's interesting because that's not, again, it's not the angle that I thought about. And, as you were discussing, I kind of see what Chris is saying now, especially if, but for me personally, I think that if you remove those restrictions regardless across the board, then really the only true benefit of purchasing direct is the card for the few nominal benefits. And at that point, I'd be back to purchasing resale. Me personally, I don't think I would go into a situation where I'd be looking, hey, I want to purchase DVC and I think I want to sell. I'm sure, listen, people smarter than me must, right? Because that's definitely seems like a smart thing to do. I just never went into it with that mindset. And again, if the restrictions were removed, me personally, then I would be going immediately to Saratoga or something cheaper, because why would I care then if the restriction removed? But I get Chris's point now in terms of trying to move that inventory.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And to your point too, there's different buyers. There's going to be buyers that come in. They're really not thinking a lot about the resale of it, right? They're only thinking about, hey, I'm buying this for my family and to keep passing it down. And that's a very valid way of thinking about it. But you and I can tell you absolutely from personal experience, you are definitely going to have you're going to have a decent amount of audience that's going to say, well, if something happens, I'm not buying this to resell it, but if something happens, what does that look like? And, and certainly, it only takes a few minutes of research on Google to figure out, okay, what what does it look like today, and why does it look like it does today, good or bad?
Oh,
that's great.
You.
We appreciate. Sorry, Damon. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say thanks, and I think that answers that one.
I agree. I think I have one more question here, and then I think we might let you go, Nick, if the guys don't have another question. So my big question is, you just brought up right of first refusal. Does this shutdown in any way, and this short term buyer's market, do you think it has any effect on right of first refusal, on how much Disney's going to buy back, or do you think it's just going to be kind of as it's been?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. This year so far, it's been relatively low comparing it to last year. And even really going into the fall and winter, late last year, it was already going under 10%. And this year it's been around 5% before any of this coronavirus impact started. So, perhaps we may see it continue to be at that lower number. Last week, though, they were buying back contracts. We'll see what happens this week. Maybe they keep it around that 5% level. Maybe they lower it even a little bit more, and their lowering of right of first refusal in the last 6 months has also helped create a little bit more inventory out there for buyers as well, because when they're buying back 20% versus 5%, you've got a big time buyer in the market when it goes up to 20%, and they are taking a lot of inventory off the table, which keeps it more of a seller's market. So it's something I probably should have mentioned also earlier, and what's contributed to a little bit more of a buyer's market now as well. So I would be shocked if I saw that rate go up, and that's really another reason now is a great time for buyers. I mean, you've got, not only do you have probably a more motivated audience and less competition, you've also got Disney buying back less. So you can, some of those deals that you may have not been able to, even if you got a seller willing to give you that price, but Disney would have snagged it from you, probably got a better shot now of keeping that contract. But and I just want to just let people know too that we also plan to stay open through all of this. I mean, all of our agents right now are working from home, so we're all safe, and we're just here to help. If people just even call us, they're just kicking the tire. And they just say, I got some questions. Never be shy to talk to us. We're never, ever any pressure whatsoever. But we are here to help. We have a lot of years of DVC experience, and we've gone through collectively as a team, anything DVC related, anything that happened since 1991 with the product, between all of us here. So we're happy to assist folks. We're happy to answer questions, whether you're thinking about selling, whether you're thinking about buying, or you just got some questions, for maybe a down the road decision, just contact us.
Go ahead, Damon.
I was going to say, Nick, what's your favorite resort? and no explanation. No. Just favorite resort, and we're just going to leave on that. We're going to make everyone guess to why.
All right. My favorite resort, I'd have to go with the Boardwalk.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's my favorite one as well.
That's a good one. Trevor's upset you didn't say Polly, but
I'm slightly disappointed.
So you don't want me to give any explanation? Just
no, you can. I was just busting.
No, I want to hear the explanation. I want to hear the explanation. When I first went to interview to be an engineer at Disney, they put me up they actually put me up at the yacht club, but it's all that same area, and I just fell in love with that area. I love the location, that you can just walk into Epcot. You're not far from Hollywood Studios. The Boardwalk just has this great, lively atmosphere to it. But, I could have almost just as easily really picked the Beach Club as well. It's really that area, and I think it's also just, almost any of these Disney resorts we could talk about, the theming's also there. I love it, when they theme a resort that's to a certain time period and a certain location. That's probably just the history buff in me, but I love the location too. So, and during, it was Hurricane Francis, I also did a 3-day ride out at the Boardwalk too, where I helped make 10,000 ham and turkey sandwiches for guests there, and I did dishwashing duty for I don't know how many people at the ESPN Club. So I just, I've got special attachment, if you will, to the Boardwalk as well. It sounds like it. Yeah, no, I love the Boardwalk too, and I think Damon said it's his favorite too. It's maybe it's the New Jersey in me and Damon, that Atlantic City boardwalk feel that it's got going on. I
don't like Atlantic City, but yes, I would say it definitely has that, down the shore sort of feel to it that is definitely, I didn't actually get to go to Boardwalk until after we moved to North Carolina, so it was a little bit more like, oh, that really feels like home.
Feels like home, yeah.
You make an interesting point, because kind of the same reason why I like the Grand Californian and Wilderness Lodge is that they actually remind me of a lot of the lodges around home here. So maybe there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, maybe there is.
No, you're right too about that with Grand Cal. I have some my dad and stepmom. They live out in Alhambra in Southern California, and they have like a California craftsman style home. And when I do go to Grand California, it does remind me of that style. And it's throughout California. It's very unique, and it definitely puts you into a certain time period. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Nick, we've really enjoyed having you on. We appreciate your time and coming to talk about this. Especially, I know this is a challenging time for a lot of people, so we appreciate your time and you offering to come on. I think it was really informational. And guys, I don't know if you have any more questions for Nick before we let him go here, but go ahead, Damon.
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your insight on this. It gives us a really good perspective on what to see in the next couple of months. So thank you very much, Nick.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys. Everybody stay safe and take care. And, anybody wants to reach us at the DVC resale market, we're here to help.
I was just going to ask, how can they reach you? What's the best way?
Just come to our website, dvcresalemarket.com. We have live chat going just about all the time. Also, from the website, there's a lot of different ways to contact us. You can also just call us at 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 1-844-382-7767.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate it. And, listeners, please reach out if you have questions about anything we talked about today. We very much appreciate having Nick on and having his time here today. And, of course, his partnership with our show. Like I said, Nick has been a big supporter since the very beginning of the show. He was one of our very first guests and has been a longtime sponsor of the show, too. So we appreciate you coming on, Nick. So thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. It was great having Nick on again. It's been such a long time since we talked to him. It was really nice to speak to him again.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, God, I can't believe that, he was our first guest, wasn't he?
I think so, right?
Yeah.
I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty positive he was the first guest.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to go back and listen to that, or maybe one of our listeners can verify that.
Don't make the mistake of going back to listening to our early shows. I did that, and it's embarrassing to me to listen to our first shows.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen though, if you're a new listener to the show, go back and listen to the whole catalog. But for me, it's hard for me to listen to. But this is. I don't want anybody to listen to this and think we're not like taking this seriously, and we know that there are a lot of people affected, and they're this is a really serious thing, and I know a lot of people don't even really want us to talk about this because this kind of takes it's been all over Facebook and it's affecting our daily lives, and people come to this show and to Disney for an escape, but we had to talk about it,
So Nick was the first guest.
Oh, you're confirming that?
I am confirming that. Yes, I'm looking at because I have to look at the new reviews that we've gotten, and because of that other post. So as I was cruising through, and the thing is that I realized that it hurts my feelings because again, if you type in "Welcome Home Podcast," we're still not the first one in iTunes.
Oh my gosh.
Because of the other Welcome Home, and I feel like it's because of the number of reviews they have. Because we obviously have more. Do we have more episodes? We have more listeners. That we know for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, they have more episodes than us too. Gosh darn it!
This is you're just adding fuel to the fire of the people that want us to do a weekly show.
Yeah, I almost feel like so we have to catch up to them by like 20 episodes, but we also need about 100 more reviews as well. That's the other dilemma that they got us on reviews also.
Yeah, we need to get on that. But listen, there's some added from people wanting pins, right? So these pins that we don't even have yet. So hopefully they come out cool.
Well, again, we need to give everyone time to start working out so they can actually wear the pins.
It'll be interesting to see how heavy these pins turn out. But truth be told, I showed there was an earlier render of them, and I didn't think that they looked as cool, so we had to get them bigger to look cooler. Just gonna say.
This is what I would say, as I say that I think that at some point we probably should have both versions of the pin.
Yeah, you're talking about the original render that doesn't have the colored in letters. That's a little smaller.
Yeah, and the reason I would say that is that I would love to put a pin on, my hat. And listen, I joke with you about how big it is, but it is too big for a hat, I believe. And it's definitely, if you're wearing a t-shirt, if you have a lanyard, you're covered, right? That's no problem with a lanyard.
Backpack, yeah.
Yeah, backpack. I mean, mine will probably end up on a backpack. But if you're just talking about, like, pinning it to a blouse or to a hat or to something like that, I think that we'll have to have a second version. These are like the collector's edition ones. Right?
It's funny because when I was looking at these, I was looking at getting a gold, silver, and bronze, and then I was going to be like, okay, bronze are for like the cool, listeners,
We're not
and then
elitist.
silver,
Stop.
a little bit cooler, and the golds are for
like
those
that.
are the exclusive ones, the gold ones. We didn't do that though. I didn't do that. So
it'll be like getting into Club 33, getting one of these pins.
That's right.
The problem is the hats now. The pins are good because we're going to have a bunch of them. It's going to be the hats.
Yeah,
hats are going to be a tough get these days.
That is definitely true. So do you guys? I mean, God, I don't want to talk about Disney World and Disneyland and DCL closing, but I feel like
we can't ignore this though.
No, we can't. And truth be told,
But what's there to say?
There's nothing to say. It's unprecedented. I mean, the parks have closed for a couple days from hurricanes and 9/11.
My parents were there for the hurricane closure.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Nick was making sandwiches for them.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, it's crazy.
They've closed. I think the cancellation policy is also very. I don't think I think people have all different sorts of expectations. I think there's all different sorts of stories. I don't think it's pinned down just yet. It's weird to talk about it because just because we see somebody online saying X doesn't mean that it's not really officially Y, and the person that they talked to didn't know that, and I just don't think that's.
Well, what I have written down here is officially from DVC. Now, but I think what people are running into is when they've banked points from the previous year, they're kind of screwed.
Or if you've converted your points, it becomes difficult, doesn't it?
What do you mean by converted? Oh, to like RCI?
Or even to like you can use your points to take a
Disney
room
Collection.
like art animation or something.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see anything about that.
I saw a few things about that. Or if you wanted to go, what's that, concierge level, right? Because you can't get that DVC. Like, there's a few people that have said they've done that and have had some problems too.
So the one line here says, similarly, canceling an impacted Disney Collection reservation will return these reservation points to you immediately for future use as reservation points. So what it sounds like is that it stays inside of Disney Collection. So
yes, and then there's time limits on those.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I mean, I get it sucks, right? Like that there's going to be people that are going to lose out on this at some point, which
you know how I feel about it. And listen, I am definitely not in that situation, but I have a friend who is. I've already won. Like I've already won with my DVC, right? Like at the end of the day, I've won. I've already made back what I would have spent on those vacations many times over. And if I had to eat it, I wouldn't be happy, but I've already made it over. Now listen, if it was my first or second year, would I be in a far different feeling and attitude? Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fair.
As a vet, like, I've won.
Yeah.
I'm good.
That's the perspective, I guess, that like what you're saying is, people are upset about this year's points, but it's 1 year, right?
Well, and Trevor, it's funny, listen, and this is going to sound very... this is going to sound bad when I say it, but this is what I would say. That I had a bunch of points, and that's why we ended up booking a 2-bedroom, because normally for our next trip, which is Thanksgiving, normally I would never do that, right? I'd be like, oh my goodness, like, no, that's not the best use of points with only 5 people. We can still get a 1-bedroom. My daughter still doesn't, we could do a million different things. But I was like, I've won already. So if I just blow out, an extra, let's say 170 points, or yeah, probably, let's say I blew out an extra 170 points. Like, who cares? I've already won. I'm good. Doesn't
it.
matter. I mean, that's a bad example because I'm getting an upgrade. But in my head, being the sort of person that hoards things, especially points or things like that, it's kind of the same sort of feeling.
Yeah, and I guess I understand why people would be upset by this. I think this cancellation policy is mostly pretty fair. I would say. I think it's generous, actually. I think that they're putting borrowed points back in their use year. I think that's good. I'm glad that they're doing that. At the same time, I understand why people who banked points would be upset. I get it. I understand because
totally.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the resorts are open now. Given if you're going to the resort, you want to go to the park.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's
At the end of the day, I don't really want to go to a hotel.
Yeah,
so.
You shouldn't go anywhere.
That's just me personally.
Yeah. Go ahead, Trevor. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to point out that, you know, kind of like what you're saying, Damon, I know it's not exactly the same thing, but our very first trip was interrupted by a hurricane as well.
Oh, yeah.
And although, yeah, we were upset about it at the time, we thankfully, the timing worked out that we were able to reuse those points in the same use year. So we booked the next May after that trip. But I guess, and you're right, it's harder, it's harder to relate as a new member right now. But, you know, being that we've gotten a couple of years into it, even if I had lost those points, I still wouldn't have been super upset because it's like, you know, it's, you know, I lost this year's points. I accept that, and I know that I have next year's points coming, I guess. So
I'd be mad if I lost some points. I would definitely. I'd be mad.
I would have been annoyed, but
yeah, I don't think I'd be mad. Yeah, I think more like disappointed. But again, like not now.
Yeah,
not now that I'm this far into it. Definitely not. I'd just be like, oh, okay. Like when my friend knew they had a volleyball tournament that. I don't even remember the whole story. Were they not going? Their team pulled out. Oh, I think that they were supposed to go, and then they decided not to, and he was going to use his DVC points while they were down because it was being played in Orlando at Disney. And then their team decided not to go. This was pre-virus situation. It was just, you know, their team just decided not to go. I believe they didn't have enough players, whatever the case may be. And he's like, I have 40 points. And then I said, well, you know, you should go over and you know, sell them over at our other
DVC
sponsor.
rental store?
Yes, thank you, our other sponsor. And he was like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. And I don't know if he did or not, but again, it was 40 points. You just go, oh, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a bummer if you lose some points, and because this is out of people's control, right? I mean, it's out of
you know what they should do? They should do, you know, you should get a special for, like, I'm just saying going forward, not specifically for this per se, but even like if you lost 40 points because you couldn't use them in your use year, you should get a plaque.
A plaque?
Oh, no.
You should get a plaque. Yeah, you should get a plaque.
You mean like a
and
magnet?
It should say, no. This is past magnet status.
You mean like from a trophy store plaque, like a gold plated, like?
I mean from Disney plaque.
Yeah,
so you can take that for what you will. Glass would be great, and it should just say, you know, you have something and the point amount, right? Not that you've lost them. It should be like in a very fun Disney sort of way, like, you know, Mickey has used your extra 40 points for, you know, bettering the park, and it should have a glass Mickey, and it should say 40 points. Kind of like this whole, like, all right, well, you know, how many plaques do you have? Like, I think it would be a great way to make people feel better and to also, like, kind of create this weird collectible market.
Yeah, that would be a weird consolation prize that people would want.
Oh, people would want the heck out of it.
I feel like it has to have Scrooge McDuck on it, right? I feel like it has
75. I have a 75 plaque, and they should go up in number, right? Like 50 and below, you know, it's glass, you know, maybe up a little bit more, it's glass with like a little bit of like leafing on it or something, you know, wood and glass, something cool. Like, that's what they should do.
This is the most ridiculous idea I think you've ever had.
No. This is actually probably not the most ridiculous idea because Haunted River Country is the most ridiculous idea. Even though it's great.
The best idea.
I still believe in Haunted River Country, though.
Yeah, we all
I do too. But I think honestly, all joking aside, this is really not a bad idea because what's it costing Disney? They're in theory getting free points. Right? Like, they're not being used, so that's a benefit to them as a company, if for nothing else than the people not being there, right? And how much does it cost them to run? it's a win for them. So even if they spent, I don't know, $100 and something for the top level, right? That's like, you lost that on 200 points, with, Scrooge McDuck. You might actually get like a dime on that one, like a silver dime. That is a great idea. Marketing wise, genius. Absolutely genius.
Wow.
And I would give up points for it. Personally.
you would just one time just be like, I'm just going to waste some
I'm
points so I
eat
get
50
a plaque.
points because I can get this plaque. Yeah.
Wow.
Trevor, you agree though, right? Collectability wise, it would be off the charts.
That would go on a shelf. It would, something like that. If it looked nice enough.
Dare you say that's my worst idea? This could be my best idea.
I didn't say it was your worst.
Idea.
I said it was the most ridiculous. That's not worst.
Yeah, ridiculous doesn't mean
not.
worse.
Absolutely not. I don't think this is ridiculous at all. I think this is so feasible that it should be happening right now.
No, I think that's what makes it crazy is that it seems logical enough that it could actually work. And that's what makes it crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely doable. Who do I need to talk to?
It's somebody.
We just need to forward them this episode.
Yeah, forward him the episode. I'm glad we were able to make this fun and not sad, because everything around this is not happy. I'm really personally, I'm very sad for anybody that had to cancel their trip these 2 weeks. I feel very badly.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
some of our listeners did too. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Disney dining then. The Disney dining plan.
Yeah, I do want to say selfishly, by the way, I'm cutting a little close for my trip here. So I'm a little concerned about my own trip.
I don't think you're going.
I'm
sorry, Tom.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to leave 4/18, so April 18th. So as of right now, I'm good. But I think we all expect it to last longer than 2 weeks. Although I hope it doesn't, and not selfishly just because I want to go on my vacation. I just hope it doesn't because what's that?
Of course, everyone wants it to be gone as soon as possible.
Of course, yeah.
For humanity's sake.
For the sake of humanity, yes.
Yeah. I mean, like they always like saying on Facebook, pears and tots for you. So.
Oh my goodness. I'm so hype about this idea. I want to contact somebody.
Oh my gosh.
All right. We're going to have to circle back.
I think we should fund this. I think we should fund this ourselves. If you can give us proof, we should be funding this.
This is new merch that I have to procure now.
Plaques.
Oh my gosh.
How do you prove that though? Do you get something? Like, can you look in your account and see the
points that you
frowny face with your point number next to it?
Yeah, I don't know if I've never had that happen to me where I've lost points before, so I don't know.
It's probably just disappear. There's probably not a way to prove it. No. I mean, Disney knows, but
there has to be a record of them leaving the account, whether or not that's visible.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Like in the transaction history. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyone that's ever had that happen to them, we're just curious for our own sake at this point.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing to put out to our listeners.
Because I know that the first year when we forgot to bank, and I know our friends did the exact same thing. That they give you that one courtesy, the oopsie courtesy.
Yeah, they give you a mulligan.
Yeah, they definitely do, especially if you forget to bank them for sure. I feel like this dining discussion though was so long ago.
It was last episode, wasn't it? I think it was last episode, and a couple people argue with us about it, so I decided to put their arguments in.
Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Trevor, do you want to read? I don't know if you were going to.
I'll read the first one here. So Elizabeth wrote in. She said, "Hey guys, just wanted to continue the discussion on Disney dining from this week's podcast. The only character meal that is 2 table service credits is there's 2 of them. Cinderella's Royal Table and Be Our Guest, the dinner, both are 2 table credits. I've heard in multiple podcasts lately the character meals are 2 table service credits. I can't say that properly for some reason.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. However, this is definitely not the case. We also just did several character dining meals in the last month with the Disney dining plan, including Garden Grill. Also, I believe Garden Grill is definitely not $80 to $90 per person out of pocket. I believe that's what Trevor said. Dinner is $59.99 per adult, and breakfast is $50 per adult. So I just want to clarify, especially for anyone listening that may be planning a trip that doesn't have a lot of experience with Disney dining. You are absolutely right, Elizabeth, and I apologize for being out to lunch on those numbers. The problem is that when I look at the final bill, I always convert the number into Canadian. And that always skews the numbers far more expensive than what it is.
It's so funny you say that, Trevor, because I guessed that's what you were doing. I emailed Elizabeth back and I said, I think Trevor was thinking in Canadian dollars.
I was, and I'm sorry for that. I do that all the time where I'm like, yeah, it was only $70, but no, actually it was, it's usually far cheaper than that, but just as a Canadian, it always ends up being way more expensive.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So then we had Jeremy write in too. And so thanks, Elizabeth, for writing that in. We appreciate it.
She also
for
said
correcting
great
us.
podcast, by the way. Did you read that part, Trevor?
He did
Oh,
read
yes.
that part.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. She did say great podcast. So thank you very much. We appreciate
we
it.
need to pump up our
Sometimes
egos here.
Yeah, sometimes I have to hold the banner, you know what I mean? The trumpets and the banner.
That's why you put that post on the group. We needed to, our egos were
I
feeling
just
a
felt
little
like it just
bruised
needed to be something out there. What was I going to say?
It's true,
I mean,
yeah.
I did debate about posting the picture of the pin and just saying, what do you think? But then I was like, kind of was like the logo discussion. Like, we asked, and people were like, well, that's ugly. And I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I actually almost posted the picture, too. I mean, it's essentially our logo, but it looks really cool. I'm hoping it looks as cool as
I don't think everyone loves our logo. Like, it's definitely grown on me more and more.
Yeah, that's okay if they, I understand. I mean, the old one, some people like the old one, and that was my poor Photoshop skills. I don't know why anybody likes that one. But.
I didn't dislike the old one. The problem is that we wanted ours to be ours so that we could do merchandise. That was a little bit too close for comfort.
And the original didn't really scream Disney either. It was Disney-esque. There was
I mean, this definitely captures the Disney and the fact that it's a podcast. Like, you could take out what it says and you'd be like, my guess is that's a Disney podcast.
Well, so much so that we weren't allowed to sell t-shirts on one site. I don't remember which one, but one of the t-shirt site would not let us sell t-shirts on it because they said our logo was too close to a Disney castle, which I said, what?
Okay. Like every other
what?
castle.
I was like, it's just a castle. It's a castle with microphones. I was like,
all of castles are not copyright, or is it copyright, or what's the actual term? Is that a trademark? It must be copyright. Right?
Yeah. Well, I proceeded to respond to that email by sending them a link to every single shirt on their website that was a castle. But that was not an effective method of arguing with them. So
sometimes it's just good to be right, though.
Oh, it felt so good. I literally found every castle and sent them a link back. It felt really good at the time. This was a long time ago before we launched the store, right when we put the new logo out. So anyway, it was a little petty on my part, but I was feeling a little annoyed that they rejected us. So anyway,
we have Jeremy.
Do you want to read Jeremy's statement? I think you argued with him the most.
No, I don't want to read it because I feel like it's just a rehash of an argument. Not an argument. I never really argue with anybody. It's a difference of opinion. I don't agree.
I mean, listen, we can only listen so much to what Jeremy says. He wears socks with Crocs in the park, so.
That is true. That is true. But, he usually does. He deep dives math, but I think the problem ends up being is that, like, it's only if you specifically eat certain snacks. Like, and I, the one thing I do not like, which is why I don't do the Disney plans, because I want to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want.
I feel like there's a wide variety of snacks though on the plan.
Is it everything?
Like
is it everything? Because I remember when my friends had the dining plan and they walked in somewhere and we were getting something and he's like, "Yeah, is that on the snack credit?" And they're like, "No," and I was like, "That's why I'll never get Disney dining."
No, there's a lot of things that are snack credits. I mean, you can get a Mickey ice cream.
That are not.
You get there's
first of all, Mickey ice cream. No.
That's not what I want.
No, I never want it. I've never had it. I've never wanted it, and my kids have never had it, and no one in our family ever wants that.
Solved. But
I mean, okay, you're going to get hate mail from that more than your take about the losing points. So,
what do you mean my take about losing points? It's the plaques.
I mean, sure,
the plaques are not going to get hate mail. It's going to be people are going to start a petition for plaques. You're crazy.
I think we might get people. If people want to get creative on the plaques, they'll start up with the 3D printers and start doing their own.
Oh, there you go.
No, they need to be glass. I've already gotten on board with glass, Trevor. That was a great idea. No, they got to be glass. They have to be. Listen, if you're giving up points, they have to be something that's like totally over the top.
That's worth it, is what you're saying? That's worthwhile?
Well, it's not going to be worth the points in any anywhere close to it. But it's got to be something that I want to put out and go, hey, it's like, an original Disney stock, framed, like that's
like
cool. Or a cell. Like I have a cell. Like I have a few Disney original cells. Like it's got to be at that level. When I see now, that would be crazy. You get an original Disney cell, and you even get to choose the character. They hand paint it with the number on it. Like I could get down with that instead of a plaque.
I'm sorry, I totally derailed our conversation.
Oh, 100%. Because now I'm like, wow, original Disney cell.
I feel like we should save this for a waitlist episode or something.
It's too far gone. It's when it runs out of control. That's all you can do.
That's true. That's true.
Tom, I'll let you read this.
Let me read what Jeremy said. He said, "Hi, listening to the show." And this was last episode. We had said that swapping meals for snacks is not a good deal. Jeremy disagrees. He's saying quick service meal plan is $55, per night per person, right? And that's 2 quick service meals, 2 snacks, 1 refill mug. The conversion rate for a trade is 1 quick service meal for 3 snacks. That means for $55, you can get a total of 8 snacks and a refill mug. If you graze the whole day in the World Showcase of Food and Wine, you can eat very well on 8 snacks. I don't think it would be too hard to find 8 snacks that are over $10 each for a total of $80. It's not improbable that a group of 5 adults would save $180 for one day of eating around the world with a quick service plan. Presuming
I can't even listen to the end of this. Who is eating snacks all day?
Some people like to graze instead of, having a big
there's
meal.
No way that's going to that you're not going to you're going to feel good eating snacks every day?
No.
Because again, if you're doing this, you're doing it for your whole trip. So you're telling me that I got 8 snacks a day every day and I have to walk, 80 miles a day.
Well, maybe, I think maybe he's just talking more theoretically. Not necessarily that you would do that.
Well, but that's the whole point. Either you would or you wouldn't. I mean, if it's theoretically, they could give you a gold button for $55, right? But or a plaque.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Or a plaque for that.
Yeah. He does make a good point about a split stay because if you
I would agree with. I like that point.
If you do a split stay, you can get the quick service plan for 3 days.
So then you're only sick for 3 days.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're only completely
too many
ill.
Rice Krispie treats. Could you survive 3 days on 24 Rice Krispie treats? Is that possible?
I mean, if they're the really big ones.
Would you be sick?
You could, but whether you would be
the question
happy.
is, could you? No, Trevor. Here's the real question. You still got to do all the same stuff in the park. Okay?
Like all the rides and everything.
All the rides, everything, the walking, everything. But it's only 8. Disney had,
and it has
Mickey
to be
Mouse
July.
had,
It has to be July.
Super
hot.
It could be any time of the year, but could you survive that much walking with 8 Rice Krispie treats a day? Is it possible?
Well, okay.
I mean, I guess it's possible but would you you see what I'm saying? Like if you were home and you're like, hey, I'm just not going to eat today. Like that happens. There's been days I just don't eat, right? And I'm not sick. I'm just like, I don't know.
Well, I think what Jeremy's thinking is, you're not just hitting Rice Krispie treats for your food for the entire day.
Oh, you could have a lollipop too.
Well, because a lot of the World Showcase places have different food that are classified as snacks, right?
I understand, and I've been there through that. And if you told me that I could eat 8 World Showcase whatever
Booths
during Food and Wine or whatever the case may be, I can't survive on that if I'm walking in Epcot. I can't. You're gonna have to carry me out. It's
not enough calories. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well,
Okay.
if you want to argue with Jeremy about this.
Where's Jeremy? Has he been on? We never had him on, have we?
I don't think we have. Have we?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
Sorry, Jeremy, if we forgot having you on.
I don't think we have.
I don't think we have either.
I feel like that would be like a 4-hour show, but...
Why is that? You think Jeremy types a little too much out?
No. I just think because there would be a lot of just differing discussion to have.
Okay.
That it would be just a rather long show.
You're talking about this now, and Jeremy's really going to want to come on. He's going to message us and be like, he wants to come on now, so...
Yeah, but the one thing for anybody that comes on, going forward, you have to submit a proposal that lists all your equipment and your upload internet speeds and all of that these days.
Yeah, otherwise Tom is going to spend 6 hours fixing the show. So, anyway, so Anything else you guys want to talk about that dining plan topic, or should we move on to the thing we've been talking about for seemingly forever?
What, the Space 2020?
Space 220? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Space 240?
I get the feeling that Tom is very concerned that he's not going to be eating at Space 220.
I'm
He's
concerned.
not going to be eating there because he's not going to be at the park.
Yeah, I'm concerned I'm not going to get to go in general, but also I'm concerned that this was supposed to open in like January. Like,
Yeah, but they are saying, though, that a lot of things are going on still at the park, right? I was reading, again, if I'm just reading for what's on the web, not that there's anything official that... I don't know.
Yeah, we have to see, right? So we have to see what's going to actually happen if I'm actually going to make it there. And then, if that's the case, are they stopping all work on it? Is it going to still open? Because essentially, and this was like a week ago, there was basically, it's not, I'm not going to call it a rumor, I guess, but somebody said in a magazine, essentially, that the restaurant was supposed to open is supposed to open in April.
But are we really talking about cutlery? This is our news is Space 2020, 2020, Space 220 cutlery.
That's where they said that it was going to open in April. Was in a food service magazine.
Runaway Railway. It actually looks cooler than I thought. I don't care about 220 and their cutlery and what I'm eating. Knives, like what sort of knife I can use to eat. Like that was cool when it was like Star Wars. I mean, what are we doing for Space 220?
Yeah.
Am I getting laser fork? If I get a laser fork,
Space
I'm
fork's going to make their way into...
What's a space fork?
I don't know.
Yeah, what? Okay.
It's like a laser beam fork.
Laser
kind of cool.
A laser beam
cuts
knife.
the food.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So you want to talk about Minnie and Mickey's instead, or Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway? You're saying it looks cooler than you thought?
Oh, 100%.
Did you watch any ride-throughs, or you just avoided?
Watch that whole thing straight through. I don't care.
Really?
Oh, okay. So you think it looks
why
cool,
do I care? Like, why do I really care at the end of the day?
Well, I know, Trevor, you avoid those spoilers.
Yeah, that just totally violates my spoiler policy.
Yeah, I have a huge spoiler policy for television shows, 100%. 100%. Like, vehemently opposed to it. But for a ride, I mean, I'm not... What's it ruining for me? I'm not on it. Like, is something going to pop out and be like, oh... Like, no...
Well,
so, I'm okay with watching.
I just feel it like, I like going into the ride with that first fresh experience and not tainted by somebody else's perspective on it, I guess.
Well, and I watch the ride-throughs, and I do not go into the comments at all. I watch it, and I'm done. I only watch one. I just was like, I'm kind of curious to what it's about, and then I'm out. But I could understand how you wouldn't want to. I totally get it. But for me, I don't mind. I don't consider that a spoiler per se.
Well, I mean, because watching it on video and actually experiencing it in person are two different things, right? So
for me personally, yes. I mean, I understand what Trevor's saying, though, for sure.
Yeah, I get it too.
Yeah.
I've only watched slight spoilers for Rise of the Resistance and only watched slight spoilers for Runaway Railway too. I've just seen little things here and there. Like, I don't want to have the effect of the screen turning into the door ruined for me. I've heard about that, but I haven't seen what it looks like. I want to see that.
You're killing Trevor here. What are you doing?
Yeah,
that's well known.
You're talking about Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I'm talking about Rise of the Resistance. I don't know what you're... Oh, wait. That ruins it too.
Okay, so I'm just going to take off my headphones for about 5 minutes here and let you talk. And then...
No, I didn't put anything on here about the ride, by the way.
No, he just told you instead. That was all.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Actually, so Trevor, let me kind of give you a little bit maybe more of my perspective per se, especially when you're at Disney. So I'm going to ride this probably once, right? Figure while I'm there the first time, I go ride it once. I'm not going to probably ride it for, probably a year. Just let's go with that for the time being, right? So what happens for me is that there's usually so much going on that I kind of want to have a little bit of a, hey, this is kind of what you're going to see. So if there's something that looks kind of cool and you want to pay extra sort of attention to it, that's kind of the feeling that I get for it. That's why I enjoy getting a feel for it, but not necessarily riding. If that, you kind of, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no,
it gives me a little more focus. But again, I get what you're saying. Just for me, I like walking into it kind of knowing a little bit more so I can kind of know what I'm in for, what I'm going to focus on, know what to look for, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's fair too, because I know there's a lot that goes on in these rides, and you could you could miss effects or you could miss entire things because you're looking in the wrong direction.
Well,
so,
and the other thing is that I will tell you that when I watch something like that, like a walkthrough or, a video through, whatever the case may be, I watch it once and that's it. Because again, that's what I'm looking for, right? It's just an understanding and then I'm done. Like, I don't watch it over and over. I just watch it once. I go, okay, that's what it's about. And then I'm out. You
just want to know if you're interested in it or not. Like if you're going to be
not even if I'm interested, just so I kind of know what to expect, so I can be like, okay, I'm looking forward to this, or when's that part coming, or this or that. But just once, like I said, I don't dissect it like some people do prior to it. Just we'll watch it once.
I've one of the reviews I've heard of it is that it does feel like you. I don't want to say it's confusing, but a lot of people say you move through a lot of different rooms pretty quickly, and it's very like zany, like a cartoon. So it's almost hard to follow in a way. So it kind of knowing what to expect ahead of time, I feel like kind of helps a little bit with that. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
What do you think of this cool merch that they put out? This is what I wanted to talk about, so we didn't ruin the ride for anybody.
I like that train shirt.
I love the shirts. The shirts are very cool.
I don't like that style, so for me, and not the shirt style, I don't like the animation style of the Mickey shorts. This is well known, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, not for me, shirt-wise, but I do think the ride looks good.
Particularly, I don't think the train doesn't look like it very much is in the style, but again, not knowing about the ride itself. I'm just looking at the picture of the one train one here.
It's like built of all the different scenes that you go through. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, to me, I think that's kind of a good it seems a little obscure if you didn't know what it was, and that's why I like it.
The coolest thing I think about these two things is that they were designed by the Imagineers that built the ride, that designed the ride. I think that's the coolest part to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's why these ears cost $78.
Of course.
I don't know who's buying them. I'm not buying $78 ears, but
you'd wear them if you bought them, and where most normal people would buy them and put them in a box.
No, I just wouldn't spend $78 on ears. I mean, it's cool that Kevin Rafferty designed them, and he's a pretty famous Imagineer. But I'm not spending $78 on ears. Especially, I mean, the ears look cool, but they don't look worth $78.
They don't even light up.
Do they not light up? I thought they did. No, they don't light up?
I don't... Oh, maybe they do. Okay, sorry.
I think they do.
They have little lights in them, but... Yeah. Okay, I have light-up ears already, though, so...
Yeah, it's a limited release, right?
See, that is a lot of money, though.
For ears.
What would they say? Happy cabbage? A lot of happy cabbage, right? That would be one of the things they say.
Is that your word? Is that your word of
you've never heard of that before?
This is your phrase of the episode, isn't it? I caught it last time and I didn't say anything.
Dude, if you've never heard that before, I mean, there's a lot of things I say that I don't think you guys have heard before.
Okay. I knew Bee's Knees was the
Bee's Knees was a tough one to fit in there, though.
Yeah, see, but I knew that wasn't very as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, no.
So do you lose because we caught you?
For me. Oh. Well, I will get way more creative if it's a contest, right? That's for sure.
I think it's more fun when we catch you, though. That's
I don't know. She makes them too hard. Like, I was like, can you just give me something easy? Gosh.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, Damon plays a little game. He's been playing a game with Trevor and I without even telling us that he's playing a game with us.
Katie and myself play this game.
Yes.
Maybe there's even more games that I haven't even told you guys about.
What are you talking? There's more.
No, he's just making you paranoid.
You don't know.
Can I fire Damon? Oh, that's funny.
He's going to go back and listen to this episode 20 times and start analyzing everything you said, Damon.
I'm just gonna start getting a transcription program, and I'm just gonna look at all the things that you're saying and figure out which ones don't make sense. The bee's knees. So
this next thing is difficult. This path less traveled tour. I can't even read it. I can't. I mean, it's probably cool, but I don't know. It's a 2-hour walking tour. Like, I'm already tired. I'm sitting down and I'm tired.
I mean, have you never done Keys to the Kingdom? I mean, that's like a 4-hour walking tour.
I've never done any tour. I haven't done any tour.
Neither one of you guys have done any tour?
Nope.
No, but I was just rewatching the surfing at Typhoon Lagoon, and that was awesome.
I guess that sort of counts as a tour a little bit.
No, I don't think so. That's more.
It's a special event. It's not a tour. Yeah, it's like a. Yeah, okay.
No,
well,
I figure I'm saving all the tours for when I retire.
That's what you do. See, like we did Keys to the Kingdom before we had a kid because you can't even go on that tour unless you're like 14.
Well, that's the thing.
I
still have a 9-year-old, so you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things like the one that we would do would be the one in Animal Kingdom, the safari one. But
Wild Africa Track.
You have to be older for that. So
yeah, you do.
And a lot of the other ones just don't really pique my interest as much.
But you don't want to go on the train tour? I mean,
personally, not really.
Listen, I know that I'm like one of the few people that want to go on the train tour, but
yeah, not really. I mean, there's no hate about it, but just not for me, really. Plus,
I already did it. So.
First, my kids would be like, "Are you crazy?"
That's the key. Like I think that's where you and I are, Damon. Is that we're looking at as I can't take my kids on that.
Yeah, but see, here's the difference, Trevor. While that may be the case, my kids might swear at me about it. Like, yo, this is and I'd be like, oh my goodness.
That's pretty funny.
I can't go through it. How old is your kid again, Trevor?
Oh, he's 11, so I'm hitting that point too.
Yeah, once you get to like 14 and 16, it's a whole different ball game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure. I remember being that age myself.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's different because our kids are never, I don't know how you guys were, but when I went to Disney and I got to go to the infamous river country that Tom's never been to because there's no pictures of him.
There is somewhere.
When you find it, you let us know.
Continue.
I feel like it was like, oh my goodness, like I went twice before I was 24, probably, right? Somewhere in there, 24, maybe younger. I don't know, but let's just call it 24. I went twice, so it was a little different. Like, my kids go every year, or twice a year, right? And it's great that I'm able to do that, and they're great family vacations. They're wonderful, but they're also then less awed by things. So to get them to do a tour, they'd be like, nah, we'll see you in 2 hours.
We're going to go do something else, and you can go ahead and do that tour.
And that's an interesting sort of thing I'd love to hear. Actually, I'll save that as a question. I'm making a note. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you. I'm just making a note for myself.
You're just making a note for later.
Yeah. Do you understand like how difficult it is to come up with like questions for the group? Like, I would love if more people started discussions. And listen, it's been fun, but gosh, I'm getting tired. Like, I need help. Send the lifeline, please.
Help Damon. He needs help.
Yeah.
Well,
ask questions.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. Is it is a group. It's not Damon. We don't have any rule about Damon asks questions, right? Like,
I do come up with some good questions sometimes, though.
You do, but everyone else can bring up good questions too.
Absolutely.
Oh, I got one right here, though. I got one right here. Saving it.
Rainy day.
All right, you save that one. So, can we go back to what this tour is?
We have to talk about this tour?
Yeah, the Pathless Traveled Tour. I've never heard of this, but yet it says...
I actually haven't either.
Yeah, one of the notes says the popular A Pathless Traveled Tour at Disney's Animal Kingdom is returning in celebration for the 50th. I didn't know this tour was a thing in the first place.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't remember this tour, and we were doing the podcast the last time this existed, so I don't know how we didn't know that this... Unless someone comes back to us. I'm sure there's somebody that knows our old episodes better than we do out there.
I've never listened to... I've listened to like a few episodes, but not too many of them.
Well, I've listened to all of them more times than I care to. But that's because I have to produce the show, so it's kind of part of it. I got to listen to this thing. But yeah, I don't remember this at all. I have no recollection of this, and I really like the Animal Kingdom tours. We've done, we've probably done at least 3 different tours in Animal Kingdom in the past, and they're all great. The backstage area where they talk about the animals is awesome.
I would do this tour if the other Katie, who's been on our show, would come with me and my family. She could bring her family, and then that would be interesting to me, because she would have such a unique perspective working from a different park.
That's true. Yeah. That would be interesting. Yeah. Cool. Well, Katie's got the call out there now. She knows. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not super interested in this.
It's not all that pricey though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's $69 plus tax per guest. DVC members get a discount. Annual pass holders get a discount. So it's not too bad.
No, not bad at all.
Although this says it's starting March 29th. I don't think it's going to start March 29th. But it'll start, I guess, whenever the parks reopen. Maybe. I don't know.
I guess that brings up a good point is, how much new stuff are we going to hear about in the next couple of weeks?
What do you mean by new stuff?
Well, because,
is everything on hold or not?
Yeah, are they obviously they announced this probably before they planned to close the parks.
Yeah.
But are we going to see... Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to hear any more announcements like this in the next couple of weeks or if it's going to be quiet.
I think it's probably going to be quiet, personally.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see, right? I don't really know how this is going to work. I don't know if they're going to continue painting the castle. I don't know if they're going to finally fix the people mover that's been broken for a week. I don't know if anybody saw that, but the people mover's been broken for a week. Longer than the Haunted Mansion. Everyone cared when the Haunted Mansion was broken for 3 days, but no one cares.
You know what's so funny though, Trevor? Do you see Tom getting bent on other groups? He's got to go and get on other groups and say, blah, 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 about the Haunted Mansion. And it cracks me because I log in and usually I get those little Tom posted in this group, Tom posted in that group. And I go and look, I bet you it's Tom correcting somebody and saying, hey, it's only been down it will be fixed when it's fixed.
That's usually my opinion is it's fixed when it's fixed.
Except you have a vested interest in
conversation. Yeah, are you really furthering the conversation, Tom? Or you just can't help yourself?
No, I just can't help myself. That's what it is. I didn't know you guys could see those.
It gives me so much amusement because I look at them and go, "Yep, I'm going to look at all 5 of these posts, and it's all going to be Tom saying the same exact thing in every single group. It will be fixed when it's fixed." That's funny to me.
What's more funny about it is most of the time people take me more seriously than I'm being on those posts.
Some of the comments are great. That's why I probably go to look at them because I'm like, oh, someone's going to be mad at Tom. Let me go look.
Half the time I'm poking the bear, right? So I need some attention, not attention. I need some I'm bored sometimes, right? So it's just I'm just going to annoy somebody a little bit.
And everyone that gets on me, do you hear this, everybody?
Yeah, that's true. It's a true statement. Yeah.
Jeez, these guys,
it's not me. I just want plaques for everybody, Trevor. That's all I want. I want plaques for everybody.
I'm so disappointed in both of you.
For plaques?
Thanks, Mama Trevor. Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I have some fun talking on some of those groups.
Yeah,
but I think part of it though too is I get really annoyed when people just say stuff that they just don't know anything about. They just say stuff, and it's no, that's not how things work.
Trevor, Tom is probably really fun at parties. I'm just saying.
I am. I'm super fun,
especially Disney parties.
Oh my gosh. I don't even tell anybody, I don't talk Disney anywhere except for here.
It's very difficult because people can get very opinionated. Mm-hmm. I feel, what it is? Yeah, I feel like I will definitely stand a better chance at talking to DVC people. My daughter has a friend that they have DVC. One of my son's friends also, they have DVC, and I'm more than happy to talk Disney with them. They have a different perspective.
Yeah, I'll talk Disney with people that I know are going to be receptive to what I want to talk about, but it's not. I don't know. I don't go around telling people I do a Disney podcast. Honestly, it's not something I advertise to people. So, and it's not because I don't want to promote our podcast. I just it's just not.
Yeah, I get it. It's some coworkers and stuff that don't necessarily have any interest in it. Kind of go. What do you mean you talk about Disney?
Well, and then some people listen to it, and I'm like, I don't want you to listen to me I don't want that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. I have to see you every day. I don't want you to listen to me on a podcast.
No, that's their choice, though. I mean, it's not like you're sitting them down in your office and forcing them to or anything.
That's true. That's true.
That would be weird.
Anyway,
well, I'm gonna let these guys talk about the Marvel Avengers campus. I am Starting to get a little shoulder sore sitting in this chair.
I thought you were interested in this, though.
I am, but I'll be honest with you. I'm like kind of pressing up against this nerve issue. Like as it gets later at night, like it starts to get a little worse.
All right.
I'm off medicine, so
Yeah, go put a heat pack on your shoulder or something.
Yeah.
I need a heat pack, a bath.
Go nurse your injuries.
Exactly. That's what happens when you get old. I'm older than you guys. You guys will be here at some point too.
Don't
Maybe
remind
I
me.
coughed twice and now I'm out for 6 months, and that's pretty much what happened. As horrible as it sounds.
That does sound
I
pretty
coughed
terrible.
like 3 times, maybe. Maybe it was 3. It could have been 4. It knocked me out for like 6 months, man. This is horrible. Well, actually, it's only been like 5-6 weeks, but I feel like it's turning a little bit of a corner. You get that like false sense of security when you're on medication. Then you get off the medication, you're like, whoa, this kind of hurts again. And then you gotta, the timeline gets longer. At least I don't have any trips planned.
Yeah, I was going to
This
say,
would be brutal.
you have
for
at
a
least
trip.
till November to heal, so.
October.
Or yeah,
We have-
right. Yeah, I guess right.
We have our
Yeah,
we have our
October.
Polynesian breakfast
Yeah.
for everyone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's not like, I want to be mobile at that point, greeting all our fans. That would be fun.
We'll rent you
and
an
again,
ECV
I'll also,
if we need to.
what'd you say?
We'll rent you an ECV if we need to.
Well, again, I won't be able to wear a button on that side because, it'll drag my
Because of
whole
how
body
heavy it
down.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really very heavy. Yeah.
All right, fellas.
All right,
I
David.
bid you adieu.
All right. Have a good
Maybe that was it. You don't even know.
Bid you
Maybe
adieu?
that-
You're
well,
saying
see,
it's the
so here's
secret
the
word?
thing. See, you know what it is? All right, so this is what I'm going to tell you. Well, I made the mistake this time. I'm going to have a bunch of them out there next time. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to scour for some very unique sayings. And then I'm going to let her give me one. And then you're just not going to know. I mean, along with the other things that I do that you guys already don't know about.
I don't like any of this. Go away, Damon. Get out of here. Go nurse your shoulder. I don't want to hear about this anymore.
Okay.
We'll talk about the last thing we have on the agenda, which is amidst all of this turmoil going on at Disney parks. I don't know if they decided to announce this as a distraction. It's like, hey, here's some positive news.
I think this was just scheduled, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. But because obviously it's Disneyland news, Damon doesn't want to hear about it. So the Avengers campus opens July 18th.
At California Adventure.
Yeah.
Right?
Which, when's Disneyland's birthday? I can't remember anymore. I should know this. I feel terrible that I don't know this.
I feel like we should know that.
Yeah. I should know this. I
think it's the day either before or after. I believe if I read
it's
that.
close to there.
Yeah, I think it's like the day before or after. So somebody can correct us on that. We could also just Google it too. But
I'm doing that right now.
Oh, you're okay. Good. So we should
July
note that.
17th. So yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
It's the day after So I should note that this is only phase 1 of the land. There is going to be a phase 2 with an e-ticket attraction that was announced at D23 this year. So, but we're still a while away from that one. Obviously, I'm not even sure if they've started construction on that one yet. And if it's an e-ticket attraction, it's going to take some time, right? So, and if you look at recent history, a lot of these, depending on, we don't even really know what this attraction is going to be. And, look at the Guardians coaster. It's taken, we're a couple years in at this point, on that one. And by the time it opens, it's going to be 3 years at least? Mm-hmm. So, expect it not to open for a while. Now, I do think the one that is going to open, the Web Slinger ride, looks pretty cool. I think the coolest part about this is you're going to be basically kind of like Spider-Man, and you're going to be able to like shoot stuff. Kind of think like Toy Story Midway Mania, right? Where you're shooting stuff, but to shoot stuff, there's no gun. You're just going to like move your wrist like Spider-Man does, and it's going to like shoot stuff out of your, virtually shoot things out of your wrist. Which is pretty cool.
Now, okay, so you don't actually have they're not giving you something you have to wear on your wrist. It's just...
So what they said is, okay, I like this quote actually here. This is from an Imagineer saying that's working on it. He says, "Believe it or not, it's nothing to do with your hands. You get to reach out and you will sling webs with this ride. It's an innovative technology that they created for this. It's a gesture recognition system. that's been built into the vehicle. It says 60 times a second, we're able to determine where a guest's head is, their shoulders, their elbows, and even their wrists. We're able to track the motion of your body so that when you reach out to sling a web, since we know where your eyes are and know where your hands are, we can render a virtual web coming out of the palm of your hand and right out of your virtual web shooters and into the virtual world. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. I mean,
right?
I was just thinking, like, because, you know, in the Void, they do something like that where, like, you can see your hands in VR. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, you know, just reading, you know, hand movements is one thing. But this is, this looks like it'll be something else.
Well, I mean, it's just think about it this way. Like, if all you have to do is look at your target and then move your arm and it's going to know where you want it to shoot, right? Like, that's pretty cool. I'm just thinking to myself, like, on Buzz Lightyear, I'm always trying to figure out where the heck my little laser pointer is. You know, when I'm shooting, I'm like, you see a million of them. I'm like, I think that one's mine right there. Can you imagine if it was just like you look at the target and you just make a movement and then boom, that, you know, you've made a taking a shot, right?
It'll make for a much more satisfactory experience, is what it sounds like. Because, like you said, even on Toy Story, you know, if you're serious about playing Toy Story,
I'm very serious about playing Toy Story.
You want to make sure that, you know, you got your aim right and everything, and I mean, those guns have a limited range of motion, so this takes that entirely out of the picture. Where, you know, you get the satisfaction of, like you said, you know, you look at that target, you say, I want to shoot that target. You're not having to, you know, fire off 8 shots to try and hit it. And I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't have the best aim.
It does seem easier, assuming it's going to be very accurate. I don't know how accurate it's going to be, but it does seem like it would be easy if you just look and make a gesture and then it hits that spot.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's less about it necessarily being accurate and more about that satisfaction with it, right? Because, you know, like, obviously for adults, you know, that we have better motor control, but kids are going to be doing this too. And you want to make sure that everybody's able to do that motion, right? So that's what it sounds like they're trying to accommodate for, is that the system is smart enough to know, where the person is looking and all that kind of stuff, and kind of helps them make the shot that they think they're making, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's cool. I very much like the way that they're using that technology.
Yeah, it's definitely really, I can't think of anything else that exists where you can do that. So, and from what I'm reading too, it looks like it is going to also track your score, so you'll be able to know at the end, and you'll be able to, see how your pod or whatever it is, whatever your ride vehicle, how well your ride vehicle did, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering how else they can use this technology. I feel like there's some other rides, like the rides we mentioned, like, from a maintenance point of view, it's helpful too, right? They don't have to, worry about those guns getting beat up, which those guns get majorly beat up. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, yeah, further to that is, like any arcade, is those things just, after so many button presses or whatever, they just fail, right? It's not even that people are rough with them. They just fail after a while. So I guess it's easier to maintain a projector that people aren't touching versus physical buttons.
Yeah, I just think of how many times I've gone on Buzz Lightyear and my gun hasn't even worked. There's no light and you can't see where you're shooting. It's just they really need to do a major overhaul of that ride. That ride is in bad shape.
They need to at least give it the Disneyland upgrade, because the Disneyland guns are 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I end up with a hurt finger after the just from pressing that button so many times. I much prefer the pull that there is on Toy Story. I like that one better than just pressing that button over and over.
Well, the Disneyland guns actually come out of the holster, right? Like, they detach.
Oh yeah. I'd much rather have that.
Yeah, it's way easier, because then you can actually shoot at the roof to figure out where your dot is, and then it's much easier.
Yeah, that does seem a lot easier. So. In addition to that, so there's going to be a ton of character greetings here, which I thought was interesting. It seems like this land, at least in the beginning, is going to very much rely on character greetings, which is kind of cool. Although I had to did you look at some of the pictures of some of these? Because they were cracking me up.
Which link is that in? There's a bunch of them here. C.
Yeah. I had to laugh at some of these because some of these are just, they don't look anything like the people. And I know they're not going to look exactly like them, but some of them are just kind of funny. But they're going to have Doctor Strange. There's going to be Spider-Man. There's going to be Black Widow, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, all of them, Iron Man, Black Panther, and Thor. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then Loki's going to be there too. Are you looking at these pictures and laughing?
Okay, Loki is going to be a star. You know that Loki is
a popular one.
He's going to be popular because the thing about villains, especially one like him, is that they have a lot of freedom he's Loki, right? He can be mischievous all he wants. Yeah, and I think people will really like that.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that'll be kind of fun and funny, So I'm excited about this land, even though it's not happening at Disney World. I wish it was happening at Disney World. But when I go to Disneyland, I will be very excited to check all this stuff out. I think it'll be very cool. I do think I think you're right. I think Loki might be the most popular character greeting there.
Yeah. Do you think? I would guess we'll at least get Star-Lord and Groot and Gamora.
Yeah. Well, they already do. They do that concert at Epcot.
Oh yeah, right.
But that's a pretty small thing. And I did mean when they were doing a Baby Groot thing for a while. We talked about it on the last episode, actually. They were doing a Baby Groot thing for a while, and Star-Lord was there, and I was like, I don't really care about Star-Lord. I don't care about this guy that looks vaguely like Chris Pratt. Like, just a little bit like him, enough that they're like, oh, throw on this uniform and go take pictures with people. I cared more about the Baby Groot thing. Now my wife cared a little bit more about Star-Lord because she thought he was good looking, but anyway, anything else you want to say about this? We should probably wrap up. We're getting pretty late.
Yeah. Here. No, I think we're good. I think we covered a lot this episode.
We did. It was a very informative episode for sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead and wrap us up there, Trev.
All right, for sure. So as usual, if you guys ever want to send us emails, listener questions, comments about stuff you heard on the episode, you can find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We got some great questions and comments on our last episode, and if you guys have stuff that you want us to talk about on upcoming episodes, we'd like to hear that there. If you want to check out the website, that's up at welcomehomepodcast.com, so you can find our episodes there, and there's a link to the store on there as well. So if you want to grab some merch. Facebook, we are located at Welcome Home Podcast. And on Twitter and Instagram, it's Welcome Home Pod and Welcome Home Pics. Those both feed back to Facebook. So, again, on Facebook is where we do most of our activity. And if you want to join the group, we'd love to have you guys in there and come talk with us and, listen to Damon's questions, or I guess maybe help him figure out some phrases he wants to mess us up with on the next episode.
I don't like this game. I don't like him trying to pull a fast one on us on these.
It's fine.
Oh no, I don't care. I really don't care. I think it's funny.
No, it's all good. And yeah, as usual, we and actually to reiterate what Damon said on the group, since we hit 1,000 people in the group, is leave us a review on iTunes or any other service that you use. So whether it be Google Play or Spotify, that's the name of that service that plays music.
That's the thing, yeah. That service, yeah.
So yeah.
Great, yeah. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any podcast app that's available out there. You can find us. Of course, just search for Welcome Home and look for the one that's about Disney and DVC. Of course, as always, just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions on this expressed on this show are our own, so please consult a DVC representative, a Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to Nick for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it. He's a great partner of ours, and we really appreciate him being here. So DVCResaleMarket.com. Check them out. And, before we go, just everybody out there, we appreciate you listening to the show. Know it's a tough time out there in, just in the world and with, especially with a lot of this Disney stuff too. And, a lot of people are having a hard time with the parks closing. And I think we all are, sad about that and, sad about what's going on. But so please, everybody out there, stay healthy, be careful. And, hopefully if you had a canceled trip, you can reschedule it for another time and enjoy your vacation then. So there's some things more important than vacation, Trevor. So.
There is, absolutely. But let's make sure we're all healthy first so we can enjoy our vacations.
Absolutely. So thanks for listening. We really appreciate it, guys. Of course, join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.